Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Getting home after the holidays won't be so easy. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. At local airports, we're hearing some nightmare travel stories with people not sure when they'll be able to get on a plane. We'll check on San Diego International in a moment. Our coverage starts with Gustavo Solis, who says the Tijuana airport isn't much better.
Tijuana's airport has been in a state of chaos since Friday night when dense fog canceled all flights. And even though the fog has cleared up, those travel disruptions are still here. On Monday morning, more than half of the flights out of Tijuana were either delayed or canceled. Some families have been stranded in the airport for the last 3 days. So says Moises, a man whose flight to Guadalajara was canceled Monday morning.
3 días la gente aquí esperando, desde el viernes en la noche. Es una injusticia.
Moises says that the airline wouldn't refund his $500 ticket. He vowed never to fly with them again.
Volaris, malísimo, malísimo.
Ryan McCarger and his family were among the stranded. He described a chaotic scene inside the Tijuana airport.
Everywhere's super crowded. People are lying on the ground, sleeping in different places. People are pulling out their blankets, pulling out their luggage, and everyone's super crazy. So
the McCarger family's from San Francisco. Their original holiday plans were to fly from the Bay Area to Cabo San Lucas, but weather in Northern California canceled that flight. So the family spent Christmas Day driving 8 hours south from San Francisco to the Tijuana airport.
We got here at 3 a.m. this morning, and our flight kept getting pushed back. And then eventually we just found out it got canceled after the 8-hour drive and staying the night at a hotel in San Diego. And this morning we figured, you know what, we're just going to drive back.
Despite the ruined family vacation, Ryan is trying to stay positive.
Yeah, technically went to Mexico, just not Cabo or the resort we were supposed to stay in.
With another winter storm expected this week, the situation at the airport could continue ahead of New Year's Eve. Gustavo Solis, KPBS News.
We also visited San Diego International Airport today to see how it's dealing with the travel bottleneck. Bad weather from the Arctic chill affecting much of the country is leading to more flight delays and cancellations. Both arrivals and departures are affected for all airlines, depending on location. We talked with some of those trying to navigate all of the obstacles.
So we ended up just camping out in lines because we didn't want to get out of line. And so they came back about 4:15, a different crew. So we rebooked again twice yesterday, and those flights were canceled. So we're back again doing the same thing, back in the line again to try to rebook. And now they're saying that we may not get out again, be able to get a connecting flight until 4 or 5 days later.
I missed Christmas, so
we were here. We slept in the airport.
I had to sleep in the airport. And all the food places closed, so I was hungry. And they lost my luggage.
Starting from Thursday today, I've been on 2 canceled flights, 3 rebooked flights. The gate has changed multiple times on me, and it just seems like I am at their mercy to get home.
And I've got other friends in Kansas even who are saying, get to us and we'll drive you home. So, friends right now are the only thing keeping me together.
Oh boy, and if all that isn't enough, this is the first holiday season amid a major rebuild of the airport's Terminal 1, and that includes popular carriers like Southwest, which canceled most of its flights today. If you haven't traveled in a while, give yourself more time to deal with parking, as some of the usual parking areas are no longer available due to the construction work. And while air travel is an inconvenience here, it's much worse in some of the places dealing with extreme weather in recent days. Here's Ivan Rodriguez with a closer look at what's happening across the country.
We tried to keep it together for as long as possible because we didn't want to frighten the kids.
As a deadly winter storm tore through the country, this Buffalo family of 6 was stranded in their car while trying to find a hotel after their home lost power.
It was like looking at a white piece of construction paper. You couldn't see anything at all.
In the middle of the storm and feeling helpless, they were rescued by firefighters.
Demetrius was pretty shaken up, and he said, just please don't leave us. I just told him, I said, I'll never leave you.
In Erie County, New York, one of the hardest hit areas, many streets remain impassable because of heavy snow. At the height of the storm, Erie County Executive Mark Polenkars says even some first responders had to be rescued.
We're used to snow here. We can handle snow, but with the wind, the blinding views, it was complete whiteouts.
Some major cities in the Southeast, Midwest, and East Coast recorded their coldest Christmas in decades. Tens of thousands remain without power, largely in New York, Maine, and Washington state. And more than 12,000 flights were canceled across the long holiday weekend.
I'm dying to get to my house and to my bed. Yes, this is terrible.
As much of the country recovers, this family remains grateful for the firefighters who saved their lives and gave them food, shelter, and even presents on Christmas.
They treated us with nothing but love and welcomed us with open arms. We felt like family there.
Ivan Rodriguez, KPBS News.
Our weather is about to take a turn after a couple of days of San Diego sunshine. A storm system on the way is bringing a lot of tropical moisture and a jet stream that stretches across the Pacific. The National Weather Service's Alex Tardy says it headed straight for California.
So what it could result in is not just one storm like we saw in November or December, but a series of storms, several storms. They're going to hose down the entire West Coast. And yes, even us in San Diego could be talking about a couple inches of rain by New Year's Day.
So the rain is expected to arrive tomorrow night and will last for several days after that. We'll have all of the details for you a bit later in our weather forecast. A Pacific Beach neighborhood is reeling from a Christmas Day fire that destroyed several buildings. It started in an apartment building under construction. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado visited the neighborhood and has the latest.
The Christmas Day fire that engulfed a Pacific Beach street corner could be seen for miles. Mary and Michael Enga live a couple blocks down from the corner of Jewel Street and Hornblende, where the fire started. They say it was so big that neighbors called them to evacuate.
You knew it was this because you live in the hood, and it just went.
Yeah, we could stand from our front door and see the flames. They were shooting up taller than the trees and the poles.
It was wild.
Craig Newell is a battalion chief with San Diego Fire and Rescue. He says the fact that the fire happened in a building under construction is why it grew so big so fast.
A fire like this in a building under construction is like building inside a tinderbox, right? And so as soon as it got some heat going, it was unstoppable.
Newell says over 100 firefighters responded to the fire because of the hazards it created. It quickly spread to the homes next door, then cars caught fire, then power poles. A bad situation was quickly getting worse.
We had a whole group of firefighters roaming the streets, driving, looking for other fires that were starting. So several tree fires started to the east of us because the ember cast that was going, and as far away as we got it reported at the 5.
Newell says this could have been so much worse had it not been for the quick actions of those firefighters. Still, he says it's a big loss for everyone.
It's going to impact many families that won't be able to live there, and the families that were in the buildings that were also burned until they can be rebuilt. It's really sad, and this time of year especially.
The building is being constructed by KD Development. Company officials did not respond to a request for comment. Mary and Michael have lived in the neighborhood for 25 years and say they routinely see the impacts of the housing shortage.
The thing that concerns me is that it's built so close to the next house that burned. And I think the city lets everything get built too close together.
Go down there and look.
Yeah, I mean, you look from the construction site to the house just to the east of it, right there, and you can just see how close they're building everything down here. So, fires are going to be affecting more people than just a single-family residence or one building.
Well, that's exactly what happened. The people next door,
their
house caught fire.
Yeah.
Now they're having to move out.
So they're victims, they're innocent victims.
Newell says a joint task force is investigating the cause, including the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. 2 firefighters were hurt during the fire but returned to work that same day. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
Academic workers have ratified a new union contract with the University of California. KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne says that puts an end to a strike that lasted 40 days.
Better wages, improved benefits, and workplace protections. Those are some of the things outlined in the contract UC academic workers approved late Friday. But getting there wasn't easy, says Zach Goldberg. He is a student researcher and instructional assistant at UCSD.
I mean, it's incredible. It was the largest strike in academic history in the United States, one of the largest strikes in the country this century. I think it shows that there's like a real sea change in academia. We're certainly not the first union to go on academic strike, but, certainly the largest.
About 48,000 UC workers went on strike starting in mid-November before the agreement was reached.
I think it's really cool that postdocs, academic researchers, TAs, and student researchers, we all went on strike together. I think that is kind of the dawn of a new era of solidarity in academia.
A joint effort that Goldberg says will help everyone involved with the cost of living in California.
Everyone's getting a big raise, but I think it's really cool that our lowest paid workers are getting the largest raises, again, up to 80% in 2.5 years, which I can't really find another union contract that's comparable with raises like that. And so I think it's just a massive win. It'll help a lot of people.
One of those people is Michelle Mariscal, a TA at UCSD. She says she'll be earning $34,000 under the new agreement. That's a raise of 55%.
It'll obviously affect students because now they have TAs that are better paid and can probably afford to not worry as much about when they're going to be able to go grocery shopping and things like that.
Both Goldberg and Mariscal say they will be returning to work with their heads held higher. But this win doesn't mean the fight is over.
I don't want to pretend that, this fixes everything. There's still going to be a lot of workers who have trouble affording rent because that's just the reality of the rental market in California and the cost of living. But, again, like I said, I think this is a massive step towards, kind of a long fight towards making it truly affordable to live here.
The new contract's going to effect immediately and will be in place through May 31st, 2025. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, the nation tries to dig out of the massive winter storm that swept in during the holidays. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
More than 400 people spent the Christmas holiday in local hospitals with COVID-19. The county's latest report puts the current number at 434. That's up 9 patients from the previous day's total. The place where COVID has become a serious concern in recent weeks is China. The country is expected to further ease its policies, and that includes dropping quarantine requirements for international travelers. The new policy will take effect on January 8th. And China's harsh COVID restrictions are just one of the policies under scrutiny. Human rights are another, including who their citizens can marry. Mark Stewart tells us how same-sex Chinese couples are getting help here in the U.S.
This Disney-loving couple, Yi Young and Johnny Ni, shared this first selfie kiss with masks on almost 3 years ago.
And this year we have this little guy with us.
Yet as a gay couple living in China, getting married hasn't always been an option until now. In October, the couple tied the knot in a virtual ceremony.
Yes.
From their home in Shanghai.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow.
So just one piece of...
But there's a high-tech twist. The ceremony and certificate actually originated on the other side of the ocean in Utah County, Utah, in the United States. During the pandemic, the clerk's office began offering online weddings as a service. Now, couples from outside the U.S., like E and Johnny, are logging on to get married.
Was the intention to allow same-sex couples from around the world to get married in Utah?
Yeah, it certainly wasn't our intention, but we're really happy to serve members of our community. And our community today is very global. And if we're able to serve people outside the physical boundaries of our community, that's great too.
From January to September of this year, 399 couples from China have been married using the online service. 117 were the same gender. For the two men, getting married wasn't necessarily a priority. And in China, such a certificate carries no legal weight or protection. The country has even banned the portrayal of gay relationships on TV, going so far as to cut out any gay references in Hollywood movies. But with Johnny moving to the United Kingdom next year for business school, this felt like the right thing to do.
When we talked about the situation we face, like move together, long distance relationship is a challenge we will face. We think, okay, probably we could get married at this point.
Yeah, actually, it will give me more confidence to have a good life in a new country.
Mark Stewart, New York.
As we approach the beginning of a new year, thousands of Christmas trees will be thrown out. San Diegans can recycle their trees for free now through the 23rd of January. City Council President Shanilo Rivera was there to kick off the 49th annual Christmas tree recycling program. That was today at the Miramar Greenery, found on Convoy Street. The program helps to reduce the amount of landfill waste, and it also helps the city meet sustainability goals by converting the trees into mulch and compost. There are 17 locations across the city where residents can drop off their clean, undecorated trees, and you can find all locations on our website, kpbs.org.
We've enjoyed some pretty quiet weather throughout the holiday, and now as we head into our Tuesday, still largely quiet, but by the end of the day, we'll start to see some of those changes. Wet and breezy Tuesday night as a storm system brings us some welcomed rain. And when it's all said and done, we'll have about a ½ inch to an inch of rainfall, followed by a cool and unsettled week. We'll still see some more showers as we go through the upcoming week. This storm system, by the way, is actually going to work its way into western Washington as we head through Tuesday. And while it does that, that's when all that moisture continues to slide south down the state of California. For now, though, still quiet tonight. We go down to 52 in the city as you work your way into Oceanside, 45 there. And notice Chula Vista in the lower 50s. Most of the numbers here relatively seasonable. Getting into our Tuesday, the bulk of the rain is still to our north, coming from central to southern California as we move throughout the day. So there will be wet weather out there, but not exactly in our area. We still keep things fairly quiet through most of the day. 65 for the high in San Diego. As you work your way towards Mount Laguna, we're in the lower 50s and mid 50s. Oceanside, those showers working in late in the afternoon. Here's how it times out. Look at all this rainfall out there throughout the day on Tuesday. Then by Tuesday afternoon, moving into the Los Angeles area, and then Tuesday evening into our area. Tuesday night, it continues for that moisture. In fact, Wednesday morning, we'll still have some showers out there early to contend with. So the forecast for the upcoming days does remain wet for us. Notice the numbers here in the 60s and also 50s throughout the week. A little bit cool in some spots. We're going to see the bulk of the rainfall Tuesday night into Wednesday. So for inland locations, mostly just dealing with some showers here for the upcoming days, including into Friday. If you work your way into the mountains, you'll find it's a little bit windy too. We do have those gusty winds coming in with this storm system Tuesday night into Wednesday. And for the desert communities, we are looking at things remaining pretty active as far as the winds are concerned. Showery weather that will most likely occur Tuesday night. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
The 100th season of SDSU football is in the books after their bowl game in Hawaii. The Aztecs went back and forth with Middle Tennessee State, but came up short in the end. The team finishes with a record of 7-6. We're not done yet with football. In San Diego, the Holiday Bowl is scheduled for Wednesday night, and that's at Petco Park. Turner Classic Movies has just published a new book called Viva Hollywood, The Legacy of Latin and Hispanic Artists in American Films. KPBS cinema junkie Beth Accomando speaks with the author.
On the popular 1950s TV show I Love Lucy, Desi Arnaz played Ricky Ricardo. He was one of the first celebrities with whom a kid like Luis Reyes could identify.
Y se comieron las tortillas, los frijoles y el vino, y todo el mundo vivió happily ever after.
Now, Reyes has written the book Viva Hollywood, the legacy of Latin and Hispanic artists in American film for Turner Classic Movies. TCM is a business, but part of its business model is to educate its viewers, to make them hungry for more content, and to encourage them to come back to classic movies to watch them with new eyes.
Action. Whether it's in front of or behind the camera, the story of Hollywood cannot be told without the significant contributions of Latin and Hispanic artists.
Latin and Hispanic artists have made a huge impact on Hollywood. Many of them are well known, such as filmmaker Robert Rodriguez and star Salma Hayek. In his book Viva Hollywood, Reyes highlights these well-known figures, but also digs deeper to find amazing behind-the-scenes stories from classic Hollywood films.
Ladies and gentlemen, look at Kong, the eighth wonder of the world.
Films such as the 1933 King Kong that Reyes says you might not realize benefited from Mexican-born artists.
Marcel Delgado, he was an art student who was discovered by Willis O'Brien. And Marcel Delgado was the one that actually molded and sculpted the creatures, particularly King Kong. Not only the little models that appear huge on the screen, but also a giant hand, a practical hand, the hand that grabbed Fay Ray, okay? And then Casablanca, no one ever talks about Joy Page, okay, who played the Bulgarian girl, but people don't realize that she's Latina, Joy Page.
These are just a few of the artists Reyes's book lifts out of obscurity and into the spotlight. The book will make you want to seek out old classics to enjoy in new ways. It also celebrates the long and diverse legacy of Latin and Hispanic artists who have helped move Hollywood forward to a more realistic portrayal of the Latinx experience on screen. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
And it's been quite a year for Hollywood, from celebrities behaving badly to the long-awaited Top Gun sequel. It was quite a year as the industry emerged from the pandemic. David Daniel has a look back at the top stories of 2022.
Everyone was talking about the slap heard round the world when Will Smith, who would win an Oscar later that night, slapped show host Chris Rock after the comedian made a joke about Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. The same night, Coda became the first movie released by a streaming platform ever to win the Best Picture Oscar, and Troy Kotsur just the second deaf performer to win an Academy Award. The first was his Coda co-star, Marlee Matlin, 35 years earlier.
I need you to listen to me. They're lying about everything.
The psychological thriller Don't Worry, Darling was overshadowed by buzz about off-screen entanglements and disputes involving director and co-star Olivia Wilde, her romantic partner Harry Styles, and star Florence Pugh. The buzz was better for Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, who got married 18 years after breaking off their first engagement.
Johnny promised me he would ruin me.
Amber Heard and Johnny Depp sued each other for defamation amid claims of abuse during their marriage from both parties, which both denied. After a 7-week trial, a jury found both liable for defamation, but awarded Depp significantly more damages than Heard. Ezra Miller pleaded no contest in March to disorderly conduct in Hawaii and was fined, then pleaded not guilty in October to burglary and petty larceny charges in Vermont involving an alleged home invasion. That case is ongoing.
Do you now regret saying DEFCON 3 on Jewish people? Are you sorry you said that?
No.
I think it matters. You should be.
Absolutely not.
Ye, formerly Kanye West, kept winding up in the news, from repeated anti-Semitic statements to harassing his ex-wife Kim Kardashian's then-boyfriend Pete Davidson. Ye and Kim settled their divorce in November. Shakira found herself fighting tax fraud charges in Spain, where prosecutors are seeking an 8-year prison sentence plus fines. The singer denies the allegations. Taylor Swift became the first artist to occupy all top 10 spots on the Hot 100 Billboard chart at the same time, with songs from her latest album, Midnights. Her fans were less successful at snagging seats for Swift's The Eras tour. Overwhelming demand for tickets basically broke Ticketmaster's website, leading to a lawsuit and a congressional investigation. The company apologized for the ticketing debacle.
Good morning, aviators. This is your captain speaking.
The year's biggest movie was Top Gun: Maverick, and it wasn't even close. Despite a nearly 3-year delay due to production issues and the pandemic, the sequel racked up $716 million in domestic ticket sales, more than $300 million more than any other film released this year, even before it was re-released in December.
I was ready to be an actress.
And the entertainment world lost some giants in 2022, including stage and screen legend Angela Lansbury, country music queen Loretta Lynn, singer and actress Olivia Newton-John, and Oscar winner Sidney Poitier, who redefined the industry for black performers. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
It's quite a look back. Well, here is a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. Are you seeing more requests for tips in everyday transactions? NPR's Morning Edition is talking about the phenomenon of tipflation. And then on KPBS Midday Edition, talks with our partners at iNewsSource about their latest report on e-bike incentives in California. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.